Yeah. Sort of ties into a little bit of what I'm talking today. The pure joy that you can see on their faces as they're playing. It's like really the divine spark being manifested in real life. It was absolutely wonderful. Thank you. Our great reclaiming is now. The restoration of sovereign identity, common sense authority, and hidden history. We're often reminded and encouraged to remember who we are and to reclaim our divine heritage. I think most of us see this as remembering our true selves, the source of our consciousness. But what if there is a larger meaning to this, not just individual, but collective as well? Who are we as humans? What great wonders have we wrought that have been forgotten or hidden from us? Perhaps there's a dual reclamation happening in the world today, a remembrance of that divine heritage on an individual level and a revelation of history that has been stolen from us on a collective level. The key mechanism of change here isn't violent overthrow, but exposure and remembrance. The moment we remember our divine identity is pivotal. Once the veil lifts, the perceived power of the control systems in our world evaporates because their legitimacy was never real. It was consensual illusion, sustained by fear, ignorance, or misplaced trust. We were never designed to be ruled by counterfeit institutions. From the beginning, the Creator authored one hierarchy of authority: God to the individual, to the community, to human governance. The kingdom flows upward, never downward. Sovereignty begins in God and is exercised through free will, not granted by courts, corporations, financiers, or any human-made system. For centuries, mankind has been conditioned to forget this. We have been trained to fear the world's systems more than we trust the creation. We have been groomed to submit to legal fictions, linguistic spells, regulatory priesthoods, and profit-driven power centers that masquerade as legitimate authority. Corporations are soulless entities, courts are enforcers of man-made rules over eternal truth, and statutes are tools of control rather than of justice. This is the deception that Jesus confronted when he overturned the tables of the money changers, the counterfeit priesthood of the day. Today, it would be the institutions that govern our daily lives, systems and rules created before any of us were born and in which we had no say. Corporations, governments, educational institutions, and the banking entities are the modern tables that are scheduled to be turned. It is only a matter of time. Scripture is unambiguous. My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. Not lack of hope, not lack of faith, not lack of feelings, not lack of empathy, not lack of love, not lack of groupthink. It is from lack of knowledge of our identity, our standing, and purpose the Creator placed within every living soul. When people forget who they are, they bow to what they were never created to fear. When they forget their source, they surrender their sovereignty. When they forget divine law, they consent to man-made bondage. But our reclaiming has begun, a declaration of spiritual and existential awakening, rooted in themes of divine sovereignty, natural law, and the rejection of artificial human authorities that claim superiority over God's order. When you remember your source, every counterfeit system loses its power. Have you seen those walking all alone toward a future you cannot see or comprehend? You know, the ones the same institutions of assumed power call crazy, or conspiracy theorists, or spreaders of misinformation or disinformation. They are those who understand that by rejecting every artificially programmed instinct, they leave the collective flock behind to embark on an individual journey into an uncertain future, to gaze into the abyss and decide to confront it. Those who do not concern themselves with the opinions of those who cannot comprehend. This reclamation is the ultimate act of personal overcoming by affirming their sovereignty against the tyranny of instinct. Across the earth, men and women are awakening to the truth that no court outranks the Creator, no corporation outranks natural law, and no statute outranks the sovereign individual aligned with divine principles. The moment we remember our divine identity, every counterfeit throne collapses. Babylon does not fall because it is attacked, it falls because it is exposed. The great reclaiming is not rebellion, it is restoration. It is the return to God's intended order, where people walk as sovereign stewards, not institutional subjects, where culture reflects heaven's principles, not man's deceptions, and where truth, not coercion, is the governing force of human affairs. The kingdom of God is not distant. This is the moment we're in. It is within you and me. We have it all. This isn't mere optimism. It is an inevitable process because misalignment with the Creator is inherently unstable. Systems built on deception, coercion, or separation from natural divine principles eventually self-destruct when exposed to the truth. The reclaiming is thus restorative, where individuals exercise free will responsibly, communities reflect heavenly principles, and governance serves rather than rules. A profound shift from fear-based submission to love-based alignment. When enough people live from the reclaimed identity, the counterfeit structures lose their grip, not through force, but through irrelevance in the light of truth. The exposure is underway, and with it, the collapse of what was never meant to endure. The reclamation of lost or hidden history is another profound extension of this awakening process, serving as a vital pillar in restoring humanity's alignment with the Creator's design. Just as individuals reclaim their divine identity by shedding illusions of subjugation, so too must we unearth the suppressed narratives of our collective past, those truths deliberately obscured by systems of control to maintain the facade of Babylon's authority. This isn't about nostalgia or revisionism for its own sake. It's about recovering the blueprint of human potential, where ancient wisdom reveals our inherent sovereignty, technological and spiritual advancements far beyond what's been taught, and direction and a direct connection to God's principles embedded in the creation itself. By reclaiming this history, we dismantle the deception that portrays humanity as inherently flawed, divided, or dependent upon counterfeit thrones, instead affirming our role as stewards of a divinely ordered world. Consider how mainstream history often presents a linear, fragmented story, primitive origins evolving into modern progress, all under institutional guidance. Yet, emerging perspectives drawn from archaeological anomalies, ancient texts, and indigenous oral traditions suggest a far richer tapestry. For instance, evidence of advanced civilizations, such as those potentially linked to pre-flood eras or lost continents like Atlantis or Mu, points to societies that harmonize with natural law through sophisticated knowledge of energy and consciousness. I suspect we've all heard of these pre-Diluvian civilizations. Who here has heard of Tartaria? Oh, yeah, a few people heard Tartaria. Wonderful. So this is the latest of these ancient civilizations that ended potentially as recently as 200 to 300 years ago. So almost modern history. A powerful addition to this historical reclamation narrative is the inclusion of Tartaria as a prime exemplar of a hidden or suppressed civilization, one that many awakening voices point to as evidence of a once glorious era of advanced harmony with natural and divine principles, deliberately erased from the official record. In this perspective, Tartaria represents a purported global civilization of immense sophistication, described as a society that mastered free energy technologies, harnessing atmospheric or etheric forces in ways that aligned with God's abundant creation rather than exploitive scarcity models. Monumental architecture built with acoustic and energetic principles. Think grand domes, star forts, Gothic cathedrals, and ornate structures that supposedly resonated with healing frequencies. And a decentralized, spiritually attuned way of life where communities flourished without the coercive hierarchies we see today. The mud flood catastrophe, often dated to the 18th or 19th century, serves as the pivotal event in this telling. A massive, possibly engineered or natural deluge of liquefied earth that buried entire cities under layers of sediment. Survivors, or later generations, allegedly excavated and repurposed the upper portions of these grand buildings, explaining why so many 19th century structures worldwide feature buried windows, doors, and lower levels far beyond current street grade, from Chicago's raised streets to European cathedrals with sunken foundations. These anomalies are cited as physical remnants of Tartaria's legacy hidden in plain sight. This time ties seamlessly into the broader reclaiming. Suppression is part of Babylon's deception. Just as courts, corporations, and statues claim false supremacy, so too has official history been rewritten to portray humanity as primitive and progressing linearly under elite guidance. Erasing history disconnects us from proof that advanced societies once existed in alignment with natural divine law, using harmonious tech, sustainable abundance, and heightened consciousness rather than fossil fuels, debt slavery, and centralized control. Architectural evidence as exposure tool. The old world's fairs, with their temporary yet impossibly ornate bow arc structures, star forts across continents, and consistent global motifs in pre-modern building are seen as echoes of the Tartarian influence. Reclaiming involves photographing these, questioning timelines, and recognizing them as inheritances from a higher epoch, not mere revival styles by later builders. The restorative implication. Remembering Tartaria accelerates the shift from fear-based submission to a love-based alignment. It affirms that humanity is capable of grandeur without domination. Free energy mirroring divine provision, architecture in resonance with creation's harmonics, governance as stewardship rather than rules. As these truths surface, the counterfeit narrative weakens. If such a civilization thrived in harmony, the modern systems of scarcity and control are not inevitable but imposed deviations. These weren't mere myths, but practical expressions of divine principles. Free energy systems mirroring God's abundance, healing modalities aligned with the body's innate wisdom, and governance structures that served communal harmony rather than hierarchical coercion. Such histories have been hidden, not by accident, but through deliberate suppression. Burned libraries, rewritten texts, and controlled education to keep populations disconnected from their empowered origins, fostering reliance on modern authorities that profit from scarcity and division. This reclamation ties directly to ancestral wisdom, where indigenous and spiritual traditions worldwide preserve echoes of these truths. African, Native American, Aboriginal, and Eastern lineages speak of star ancestors, cyclical time, and multidimensional existence. Knowledge that awakens the original spirit within us, untainted by conditioning. In biblical terms, it resonates with accounts of giants or the Nephilim, advanced pre-Diluvian societies, or the Tower of Babel as a metaphor for fragmented knowledge. Reminders that humanity once walked closer to the Creator before the veils of forgetfulness descended. Reclaiming this invites a shedding of trauma identities imposed by distorted narratives, allowing us to embody higher consciousness and heal generational wounds. Hidden history becomes a tool for empowerment. It exposes how the deception has severed us from the natural divine principles, like sustainable living in harmony with the earth, or innate spiritual technologies, such as meditation and frequency healing. As more awaken, this knowledge spreads, not through force, but through shared remembrance, rendering obsolete the systems built on lies. Communities rebuild on heavenly models, decentralized, love-centered, and accountable to the sovereign individual. Governance evolves from ruling over to serving with, reflecting stewardship where free will flourishes without coercion. Ultimately, this insight amplifies the inevitable. Misalignment crumbles under truth's light. By reclaiming hidden history, we not only remember who we are, but rediscover what we've always been capable of. Co-creators in God's image, unbound by the illusions of the past. The exposure deepens, the restoration accelerates. By integrating this, the reclaiming gains tangible anchors, not abstract spirituality alone, but physical clues in stone, sediment, and suppressed maps. It invites investigation, discernment, and ultimately restoration, proving that truth, once remembered, renders deception irrelevant. The exposure continues, the buried past rises. You are the space between it all, the silence that holds the question, the awareness that survives every version of you you've ever mistaken for your final form. Rise, remember, reclaim the untold stories. reclaim who and what we truly are, and watch the divine narrative unfold anew. This is our inheritance. This is our jurisdiction. This is our moment. Thank you.
Yeah.